You're in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant, national insurance columnist and financial color commentator. And today on The Biz, we're doing Spreadsheet Cheats from our Competition Desk series with our special guest, Brandon Roberts from the Insurance Pro blog.
When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Well, welcome everyone. I'm Steve Savant, host of the Business Insurance Zone, and we're broadcasting live to a nationwide audience of financial professionals right here in Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And with me, part of my national study group and blogger extraordinaire, Brandon Roberts. Welcome to the show, Brandon.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
Brandon, all this week we're going to have Brandon Roberts on us, Take No Prisoners blogger of life insurance, one of the top article and bloggers out of the United States, and I have to say, representing the next generation of life professionals. And really, we're thinking about, every time I go to a convention, everybody's my age or older. But now I'm starting to see people like you come into our business, a whole new generation to carry up what we've been doing for me at least, 30 years. Let's get into it, and again, I think not when you talk about competition desk and issues like we're going to talk about today, it's going to be controversial. Can't get around it. Can't get around that. And I'm happy to say that we're going to try to be as objective as we can. We're going to try to lay down the facts. And now we're going to talk a little bit about spreadsheets. Now look, I guess this is self-appointed on myself. I feel like I've been the sultan of the spreadsheets for like 20 years. I've been running grids like you cannot believe on every product, trying to do premium quotes, ranking those contracts and everything else. But lately, over the last year or so, I have to say, Brandon, and that's the name of our show today, Spreadsheet Cheats. I see a ton of cheating out there, and it's really not good for the consumer. And I want to make sure our agents understand what's going on. So with that, let's talk about the first thing that we see on Spreadsheet Cheats. I want you to address underwriting on a spreadsheet.
Right, and you see it, I see it, happens all the time. These things come across my desk from people who hand me quotes from an agent, and everything's run at super preferred. And it's all a matter of, here are the top companies, here's what you should have. And I look at it and I think to myself, you told me you have high blood pressure, or you're not the skinniest guy in town. And I know this company that's on the top of your list, and I don't know them to be somebody who likes to underwrite your risk. So that's okay, but we should probably adjust this thing to really account for what's probably going to happen. You know,
there is carrier rep. You know, people have reps out on the street, right? And certain carriers are going to say they're not into blood pressure, they're not into diabetes, they're not into whatever. We've seen certain carriers quarantine themselves away from certain parts of the market. So when we're doing spreadsheets, we have to account for the first thing I want to know is, do we even have an underwriting offer, an idea where this is going to land, and are we using, as you just suggested, are we using the right carrier? The second thing, though, I want to talk about underwriting, though, Brandon, is I have carriers out there that I know that are showing up ranked very high all the time. And I know from experience, I'm not going to be able to get those numbers. And even if I'm trying to obey their protocols, I look at their underwriting stats, how much cholesterol will they take, how much weight, height and weight, what's their issues about small management of medication, can I still stay in the preferred zone? I've just noticed that so many of the carriers that we deal with that rank high would never rank high in my underwriting protocols. Talk a little bit about that, because one issue is, well, the field underwriter didn't get it right. You know, he put in a person with high blood pressure, he shouldn't have done it. All right, but let's say everything being equal, they're just showing the top ranks. They show them in super preferred, preferred plus, and preferred non-smoker. But I've seen time and again that several of our ranking super preferreds really are going to show up at the preferred plus level, a step down. And then I want to talk about that because that kind of irritates me.
You're right, and it gets into a lot of the teaser rate stuff that's out there, and agents either don't know any better or they really don't care. They just want to show people this is the rate, this is where we should submit, and there's a bunch of reasons behind it. Things like, this is my favorite company, and I think that if I've got you on the hook, well, I'll bring you in and do that. I've had a lot of conversations with people that goes down the line of, listen, I really don't think they're going to issue with you there. You should be looking probably at this company or that company. And sometimes the aha moment happens and they go, oh, okay, all right. But lots of times they push forward and they find out, no, you're not preferred, you're standard, or you're preferred.
And that's part of what I call, we're trying to get away from pretext selling, try to get away from bait and switching, right? We don't want to do that. And we want to try to have some intelligent answer as we go forward. Now, when we're talking about the kind of what I call the cheating system of underwriting, I'm concerned because A lot of what we're doing now, we used to accuse people buying direct from the web. Well, I know there's going to be a third not taken offers. You know, you're just out in the web. Every American's putting on, I'm super preferred, they want the best rate, and they're not doing any underwriting about it. And so then we wonder, well, why isn't that taken? And even in brokerage, as mercenary as our channel is, we're still seeing 25 to 30% not taking offers. We're not placing it. So we have to make these spreadsheets look right, we have to up our game. And I'm so sorry to say we're going to have to do a little bit of human physiology here. We're going to have to learn a little bit of underwriting. And the protocols of every carrier, from carrier to carrier, are completely different. Our industry, Brandon, has to be one of the most, it's so unstandardized. Talk a little bit about that issue alone when it comes to underwriting so we can really help some people make some quality decisions on spreadsheets.
Right, so there are people who think that a blood pressure reading of one level is going to be universally the same across the table, and that's certainly not the case. There are people who think, well, you fit within this height weight chart that this company gave me, and so I'm going to assume you fit there for everybody. It just doesn't work that way. You need the backroom technician who's going to tell you, listen, give me the stats and I can fit this person in. Maybe it's a little bit of trying to be a little too quick on the gun. That could happen. Somebody calls, they want a quote, I just want to give it to them and get this done and out of the way. You mentioned earlier it hurts the industry. I think it engenders an incredible amount of distrust and ill will toward people who submit these cases telling people preferred and being completely oblivious to their underwriting practices of their company. And how much of a fool do you look like when you come to somebody and say, oh yeah, I love this company, preferred, and it comes back standard or not where you thought it was going to be.
Well, not taking offers are a plague in our industry. There's no doubt about that. We're trying to move to a new platform of spreadsheets where we actually do the regular spreadsheet, we just hand it out the way we do it, but we're also doing a secondary spreadsheet so that people can see this is the impact of underwriting. When we come back, we're going to talk about other areas that are impacting spreadsheet sheets with Brandon Roberts. I'm telling you, this is the way we need to go. When we come back, we're going to go through this whole entire idea of spreadsheet sheets right here at the Bazone.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Companies in our business are always touting service, products, and underwriting. And we do that too. But here's the difference. Now enter the world of the elite producer with a value package that cuts us out of the pack. A BD that approves social media marketing of non-FINRA products and doesn't take an override. With the best competition desk in the industry, and for our loyal producers, a true group health plan. No one offers that. Brokers Alliance does.
Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm your host, Steve Savant. I'm with Brandon Roberts, top insurance blogger in the United States. He's all over the net. We're talking about spreadsheet sheets. First segment, we talked about underwriting and all the misconceptions that are going on out there. Now I want to talk about, first of all, let's just get term UL out of the way. Finally, we see the term UL fleeing the guaranteed market. And a lot of this came out of the issues of reserves and everything else, but it really skewed the guaranteed quotes. I mean, we were looking there, I'd sit there and I go, wow, look at this price by this term UL. But the UL was only like a term product, so it only went so long, and it wound out on the guaranteed UL sheet. See, this is where I'm kind of like, it makes the spreadsheet so convoluted, and I don't understand. Talk a little bit about the issue of now term UL's on its way out.
Well, I think it's entirely possible to go on top of that and say you don't understand, and the agents that are looking at it don't understand it.
Right.
They look at it, they see GUL, and they assume, okay, that's GUL, and it's got an incredibly great price, so I'm going to go with that.
Right.
Not knowing, or maybe not caring, that after the next 20 years, it's basically toast.
On delivery, and I have to say this, on delivery, we have seen many agents have to go back to their client because the guaranteed pages tell all in the contract. So if I'm delivering the policy and the client never goes past page 3, he's going to look at this and he's going to say, wait a minute, I thought I was competing against a guaranteed contract. I saw all these on the spreadsheet. He chose this one and the guarantees were short. And by the way, most of them were 15, 20 years. And I'm looking for full permanent coverage. Let's talk about the guaranteed periods, because here's another issue. We have all this flexibility, well, they call it flexibility, but let's just say we have now the ability to run all the way down to age 85, all the way out to 130. So when I'm looking at a spreadsheet, is it the same? How do I know it's the same? It's all different durations, all different guaranteed periods.
If you want to control it, you've got to go to the column that says guaranteed to, and you need to look at the age, and you need to find out what it is. All of a sudden, a bunch of people have either ignored that, or they've become experts on mortality, overnight experts. And we've found out that 90 is long enough in their eyes, because 90 is cheaper than 120.
But Brandon, if I have this is an actual case, we talked about this off air. I have a female 61. She came back super preferred. The agent put it on an age 90 platform. The 2000 CSO, right? 2001 CSO had her at standard at 87. But she's super preferred. She's going to be going way past 90, and we only did it because we wanted to block out to age 90 so that we could win the case. But if I would have done the spreadsheet according to her LE, her real life expectancy, maybe even using the Society of Actuaries VBT tables in 2008, I would have never said age 90. Talk a little about that issue.
This is what happens when you become an overnight expert on mortality. First, people don't realize that life expectancy just means that 50% of the people in that age group are dead and 50% are still alive. So the probability of still kicking around is a lot longer. But you're absolutely correct in stating that if I say age 90 and somebody comes back super preferred, I need to readjust my assumption on how long they're going to live. And if I'm not quoting super preferred to begin with, then I can go back to the client and have that conversation that says, well, instead of getting a price discount, we're going to go a little longer on the guaranteed period.
And I think you have to manage the mortality of the client in the sale like that, because once I see the true number, I have to come back with the true premium. And that's going to readjust the grids. The spreadsheets are going to, you'll think some players are very good at 90, but I've noticed that as we go farther out, 95, 100, 105, you're going to see people, all of a sudden, they'll fall out of the rankings, they'll come in. It really depends on how they price their product, doesn't it?
It's very easy to sell term insurance at low prices with the probability that you're not going to have to pay anything. And we assume that just because it's guaranteed UL, and we've all been told that it's just term forever or until you don't want it anymore, there are tricks that you can play. And you can price these products out to go, well, it'll end before we need to worry about it.
Or I'll be retired and I'll be dead before I have to worry about it if you're an older agent. The reason we're bringing these things up is because we want to stop not only the non-taken offers, we want to stop the bad rep that it brings our industry. We want to make sure that our consumers know we're doing everything to look at this contract. We want to give you the best policy, but I also want to make sure, hey, is this the best underwriting? If it is, I need to adjust what I think is going to be the guaranteed coverage. Remember, one of the biggest issues is if I have a guaranteed economic liability, I want to cover it with a guaranteed product. And for the life of the client, which, by the way, I want you to talk about this a little bit. I've noticed some of these carriers now don't even use a maturity date. It is life of the insured.
Yes, there's actually a big discussion going on among actuaries now about ultimate mortality, which says we need to build models that just assume these people never die. And it's
we're now in Methuselah marketing now. You caught me off guard there. We have actuaries building tables based on people not dying.
Correct.
Okay, talk to me about that.
Well, first off,
I'm sorry, I'm in shock.
First off, every time that they build models for different things, even though they can take the CSO and they can say, okay, life expectancy is 88, 87, whatever, they constantly assume a mortality bump. So now we're just getting into the world of saying that bump is a lot longer than we thought. Now, when you got into the business, all policies ended at
95. I mean, that was it.
100. Now we've got people who are buying policies, they're getting to that age, and they're going, I don't want my coverage to end. I need it to go further. So the idea of saying, you know what, we didn't get it exactly right the first time, let's not mess it up the second time, is a good practice. So
not only are they padding, but you're saying that they're actually looking, I hate to say it for lack of a better word, eternal mortality. I mean, I have tables, I never end, I never die. Unbelievable. Well, I used to read about Methuselah back in the day, right? 969 years. Is this where we're going? Look, there was an article, I can't remember what trade, that actually the person that's going to live 150 years is already on the earth, already walking. Unbelievable. Listen, you can catch this show and all our shows at www.brokersalliance.com. As soon as you come on the homepage, just hit the red on demand button. That's the Buzz on the Biz. See you tomorrow.
The Biz is brought to you by Brokers Alliance, a national leader in insurance products, support services, and educational workshops. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, We're the news you can use.